In the following set of tutorials, we're going to take a look at using conditionals in Flash. So let's open up the FlashCS5 conditionals start file. And I do want to point out that there's a lot going on here. So we're going to press the F4 so I can see everything here. But we're going to start off with if conditional statements, and then we're also going to go into switch conditional statements. Over on the left-hand side, a little off the screen, you'll notice that there's some notes about if statements, and I want to talk about them just for a second. An if statement, or a conditional statement just in general, is to test whether or not a condition is true or possibly false, and if it's true or false, perform some sort of set of actions. So the simplest version of it is if condition, whatever that condition is, true or false, go ahead and do this. So it finds out if that condition is true, then it goes ahead and does something. Now, it is important to point out that conditions are always true. So you would say, if x equals 5, do this. But you can also check to find out if x does not equal 5, then do this. In that case, you're checking to make sure it is not 5, and if that is true, then it does something. Now, it's often needed for you to check more than one condition. And so with if statements, you actually have if and else if and else. So in this case, you would check if condition 1 is true, do this. But if that's not true, else if condition 2 is true, then do this. And if that's not true, else if condition 3. And if that's not true, then go ahead and run the default, which is else. Do something else. So this might be putting in a password. You'll say if the password is password 1, 2, or password 3, go ahead and do something. But if it's not, say, hey, you put in the wrong password. So that's something that we'll come back to over here. Now, something that is interesting about using conditional statements like if and else if is that it will kind of run the conditions in order, condition 1, 2, 3. But if it finds one of these conditions that's true, and it's got a later condition afterwards, it will not run that condition. For example, is if condition 1 is not true, and condition 2 is true, and condition 3 is also true, then it will only run condition 2 because it got to that one first, and then it jumps out of the if loop. That's something kind of important. Now, we're also going to be working with switch, and switch is another way of writing conditional statements that actually, when you compile the code, it actually creates a more complex if statement. But the nice thing about switch is that it's very easy to write, and you can run more than one condition. And you can verify if more than one condition exists using a switch statement. So that's a really nice thing to do. Now let's go ahead and open up the start file, and I just want to point out that we're going to be walking you through a number of the different parts here. And then over here on the right hand side, you'll see this using if or switch. That's where I'm going to ask you to do this on your own without a tutorial. And I might describe a little bit more about it later. You'll also notice that I have a little bit of notes about the if versus case, or that really should be switch up there. But switch and case work together, and you'll see how in a bit. So anyway, let's go on to the actual tutorials in the next video.